Hey everyone, welcome to OpenFilmmaker. So I've been using the Panasonic G85 for about the past year and a half, almost 2 years. I really think this is just a phenomenal camera. I've been using it weekly, if not daily. I've taken nature videos, I've done a lot of vlogs, family trips, vacations, photography. I mean, it's a great hybrid camera in my opinion. In this video, I'm going to be talking about why I think the Panasonic G85 is a great vlogging camera, and I'm going to give you 10 reasons why that is. All right, let's get started. Okay, so number one reason is a lot of people complain about the focus on these cameras. By the way, I'm shooting on a GH5, and while I'm holding the G85 in my hands here, so a lot of people complain about the focus on these cameras. To be quite honest, I've never had an issue with focusing, but I think the people that are complaining about the focus, they're expecting it to have really good autofocus. It doesn't have good autofocus. I mean, that's a known issue. I mean, not even an issue. That's just kind of like a fact. It uses an older technology called contrast-based detection. Now, there's newer technologies like phase detection, but this camera doesn't have it. But I actually argued that it's not even needed. And let me show you why. The thing is, right now, right here, I have it set to manual focus. Okay, you can see that right here. I have it set to manual focus. But the thing is, Panasonic gives you additional features to help you with your manual focus. Manual focus doesn't mean you sit there and you focus by wire using this thing. I mean, you can do it that way. Certainly, you can certainly do it that way. But manual focus is really what you really should be doing is setting on manual focus and then tap. Here you can see the autofocus button. Tap to focus. See, all of a sudden now we're focused. Now I'm going to move it up here off screen. Tap to focus. I mean, you can make it so it doesn't make that beeping noise, the beeping sound. But here, tap, tap. Okay. And in addition, if you notice this in the background here, my cell phone, this is my backup cell phone, I have it connected to the Panasonic, this camera. So you can see whatever the camera sees, I can see on this phone. And guess what? I can tap on this camera, on this mobile phone. I can have it anywhere around me. It doesn't even have to be right next. It doesn't have to be next to the phone. It can be, and I can just tap to focus. And so a lot of people complain, oh, you got to use manual focus. Yeah, you should be using manual focus, but Panasonic gives you features to help you with your manual focus. Like this, for example, touch to focus. You can either be touching on this image app. This is called the Panasonic image app, or it can be just touching on the articulating screen. Okay, which brings me to the next point. Point number 2. The articulating screen. This is just phenomenal. I mean, it's not just the screen. I mean, it's also a touch screen. You can just, like I was tapping to focus earlier. Let me make sure this is in view. I mean, the menus are just amazing. It's very intuitive. It's really well organized. It's easy to get to. I mean, you even have custom modes. I mean, I'm getting away from the articulating screen, but I mean, you can access those, all of that from here. Even the custom modes, you can access it from here. I mean, this articulating screen is just phenomenal. I mean, you turn it the other way. If you want to do vlog style, like Casey Neistat, it can make sure you're composed. Just check on the composition, etc. I mean, this is just a really nice screen, and it's touchscreen. So that makes a big difference. The other thing that's awesome, really, the lenses. Okay, so this is the kit lens, the 12-60. So typically when I'm vlogging, I don't use this lens, but if we're just starting out vlogging, that's totally fine. But I like that blurry background. I like that separation from the background. So I personally like to use the 15mm f1.7, or my favorite one to use, the 15 is a prime, so you can't zoom in. I mean, what you see is what you get with it. So a little bit, if you have the budget, you get a little bit more flexibility. Actually, this is professional. This is a professional lens, the Sigma 18-35. What I love about this is it zooms and it's constant aperture. And with the speed booster, I have a Viltrox EF-M2 on here, version 2. With the EF-M2, I mean, it's technically something like a 12.5 to 25mm, I guess, and the full frame would be 25 to 50 equivalent. But with this adapter, you have access to not just Panasonic lenses, but also Canon. And remember, Panasonic cameras has a micro four thirds mount, or the Panasonic G85 has a micro four thirds mount. So it's not just Panasonic lenses, but also Olympus. Olympus has a micro four thirds mount. And then with this adapter, you can use Canon lenses. And then there's adapters available for Nikon lenses. So the lens selection on the G85, I mean, it's just amazing. You have so many lenses available to you. Again, so the 15mm or the 18-35 if you want to do vlogging. And if you're just getting started out, the kit lens is more than sufficient. The 12mm, I mean, that's a 24mm equivalent on full frame. I mean, that is a pretty wide, wide angle field of view right there at 12. And I think this one will be good for most people. To be honest, you're probably going to struggle with lighting and sound when you're just starting out. All right, so what else is there? Another reason this is awesome, I think we're on number 4. We talked about, yeah, we're on number 4. So the microphone input. So this has a microphone input. I mean, just imagine if your camera is set up on your desk, but you're sitting, 4 feet away from it, that internal microphone is not going to pick you up all that well. So having that input, you can put a microphone closer to you. You can even be wearing a lavalier like I sometimes do. I mean, this camera, it has a mic input available. That's just phenomenal. Number 5, the 4K resolution. Let me show you something on here. Okay. The 4K resolution. The 4K resolution is at 100 megabits per second. 100 megabits per second. Compare that with the Panasonic G9, which is a much more expensive camera. And that has at 150 megabits per second. Now, the megabits per second, remember when you're dealing with video, it's a constant stream of images. So the higher this number, the better quality your video is going to look. So 100 megabits per second is really good. It has 4K 24 and 4K 30. So the 4K resolution on this is pretty phenomenal. And it's kind of becoming, I mean, there's still a lot of people using full HD, 1080p, but 4K is kind of like, gets you future proof. And a lot of TVs these days, I mean, I've owned a TV for, actually a few years now that has 4K. All right, so what else? Okay, number 6, this camera has in-body image stabilization. Okay, let me show you. Oops, well, the camera's still on. So, see this sensor? There's a sensor in here, right here. It moves around. And when it's on, when the camera's on and being used, it accommodates for any shake. It lessens the shake in your videos, and to be honest, I believe the in-body image stabilization on this camera, especially combined with optical stabilization in the lenses. Like for example, this has power OIS, optical image stabilization. That stabilization in the lens works together with the stabilization in the camera body. I believe this combination is so good that I sold my gimbal. I no longer have a gimbal because of this camera. That's how good the in-body image stabilization is in this camera. And speaking of selling stuff, I also don't own a slider because this camera has another feature, which brings me to the 4K live crop. Now this feature, you can actually pan and zoom. You can actually pan and zoom in camera because you shoot 4K is 4 times the size of a 1080p image. Let me get to it. Oh, it was on the first menu here. Okay, 4K live crop. Okay, 20 seconds. So set, and then here's the end, set. Okay, so now watch. I'm gonna go ahead and hit record on this camera, and it's actually panning automatically for me. I mean, that's just a phenomenal feature to have in this little camera. I mean, this camera packs a punch. All right, next up we have number 8. Now, number 8, you have focus pulling available to you. So similar to the 4K live crop, you have something called Snap Movie. So go to set, pull focus on. Okay, so now if you see, there's a little tracking. So I'm going to click that. And then I'm going to select from there. That's the beginning. And then I'm going to click over here. So as soon as I start recording, so it's actually focused on this point and it's going to transition out of focus. See, it's slowly going out of focus to this other point. So it pulls focus for you. I mean, so many people complain about all the focus issues with these cameras, but I just showed you, number one, the fact that the panning and zooming with the live crop, and then I just showed you focus pulling, and I showed you earlier the tap to focus. Panasonic has made these cameras so you can be successful in vlogging. You can be successful on our YouTube channel. This is a phenomenal camera for vlogging. All right, next up is zebra patterns. I already have that enabled. So let's find something where, so I'm gonna stop down here and then increase the, oops, you can't see what I'm doing. So you see that? I mean, I just changed the ISO here, but the zebra patterns are appearing because that's where detail is being lost. It's so bright, the camera is unable to detect what detail is in the wall up here. That's the wall. Let me go turn off Snap Movie from the last example. So the zebra patterns are now gone. So now they're back again. So I'm just adjusting the exposure. So the zebra patterns tell you if something is about, you know, because if you have that disabled, you're not going to know that, hey, you've blown something out and you can't get the detail back, even in editing, in a post-processing. So the zebra patterns are awesome, and you just see that on screen on the articulating screen itself. Or you can also see it in the viewfinder, I suppose, if you're using it that way. But man, this is just a phenomenal bargain too, with all these different things you're getting. And I'm not even done yet. Number 10, okay? Earlier I was talking about the phone app. So not only, so it's disconnected. So let me go ahead and get it connected real quick so you guys can see how to do this and how easy it is to get it connected. So Wi-Fi, so I'm going there, I'm doing Wi-Fi function, set destination, connect to my phone. Okay, now bring my phone into view, Okay, and it's connecting. I mean, this was already previously connected, so it should be a little easier this time around to get connected. So I'm gonna go and Wi-Fi. So I'll connect to the G85. And there you have it, it's connected. So, and then the camera even says under remote control, or it did. But now what I wanna show you here, let me make sure that I'm in focus. Now what I wanna show you here is the remote operation. You can control not just focusing, but you can change stuff like, oh, I think I'm overexposed here. Let me turn down this ISO. So you can control the aperture. Look, I'm changing the aperture. And as I modified, you can see this screen is getting a little darker as I'm stopping down. See? So you can control the camera with this app on your phone. So you can monitor the image. You can see all these zebra stripes here. That's all blown out, and you can see that on the articulating screen as well. So there's so much stuff you can do with this camera. I mean, you can stop recording. I mean, right, using this app, you don't even have to be touching the camera. Look, there we go. I just started recording, and I just stopped. I mean, there's so many things. You can change your color profiles. Here I have, if I go here, oh, I'm in the quick menu. Here we go, the quick menu. The photo style, natural, you can change the saturation, the sharpness, the contrast, the noise reduction. I mean, there's so much stuff you can change on the phone itself, and it's you controlling the camera from your phone. I mean, this is just phenomenal. Guys, I've just given you 10 reasons. I mean, really, it's a little bit more than 10, but 10 reasons why I think this camera is just phenomenal for vlogging. If you're thinking about the Panasonic G85, I mean, don't even think twice about it. I mean, pick it up. If you're thinking, hey, this camera may be for me, and I want to do YouTube vlogs, etc., don't even think about it. Just pick it up. Now, I will say, this camera is not the end all be all, right? Because depending on your budget, leave some room for lighting, leave some room for audio, leave some room for perhaps even color gels, different types of lighting, different lenses. So, I mean, as I mentioned previously, the 18-35, that's my go-to. And then I also like to use the 15mm for vlogging situations. But the 18-35 is really my go-to just because of the flexibility that I get with that. Anyways, so that's all for this video. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you got something out of it, give me a thumbs up. If you're new to this channel, please consider subscribing. I like making videos about these cameras. I have several cameras, both Panasonic and Canon, and I just love videography and photography, and this is just kind of like something I really enjoy. So if you like these videos, if you want to see more content, consider hitting the subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.